We often hear that math is different from other subjects and that you need some special techniques to study math that might be slightly different than when you're studying for other classes. Today we'll look at those differences and we'll learn some great strategies that will help you increase effectiveness in studying for math classes. So let's start our journey into discovering different learning techniques for helping you build your knowledge and performance in math classes. First, let's look at how math is different from or similar to other subjects. Math can be considered a language because of the several reasons. It has its own vocabulary terms and definitions, syntaxes rule, such as order of operations. And just like a language, math acts as a communication tool because math equations understood all over the world. So basically, we can say that math is a universal language. Also, the same techniques can be applied to learning math as to learning a foreign language. Math is different from many subjects in the way that it is sequential, meaning that you have to learn foundation first before moving into learning more complicated concepts. It's like building a house. First, we need to put a foundation, then the walls, and only then we can put the roof on the house. We cannot put the walls and then the roof and then the foundation, right? Unlike in, for example, learning history, you can learn the modern history, then medieval history, then 19th century history, and so on, and your knowledge of the subject will not be sacrificed from switching up the chapters in the book. Math is procedural, meaning you need to know the steps and procedures besides, of course, applying conceptual knowledge to solving math problems. I would say math is both procedural and conceptual. Without knowing the procedures, steps, rules, formulas, it is difficult to build conceptual understanding of a subject. I will show you the difference in those two concepts another time when we learn some geometric topics. It will be in my geometry video. Like any other skill subject, math requires a lot of practice. For example, you wouldn't expect to show a person how to do a cartwheel and then expect them to perform the next day, right? The same with learning math. It requires hours and hours of practice in order to master and fully understand the challenging concepts. Ask any professional how many hours it took them to be good at what we do, and if they become a pro from their first try. You'll probably hear stories and stories of struggle, failing, getting up, and trying again until they become good at what they do. Math is similar to learning to play a musical instrument or playing sport. It also requires tons of practice. The other day, I read an actual story in the article how the group of graduate students was having a trouble trying to figure out the amount of tips in the restaurant until one of them brought it up and said, "Isn't it sad that we are graduate students and we cannot figure out the tips?" This story gets a lot of noting of understanding, empathy, and relating to similar stories in someone's life. And the sad part is that it's okay to hear someone saying they're not good with basic math, but you would react differently if those students said that they're graduate students, but they cannot read, right? Unfortunately, in our society, it becomes normal to admit that you cannot do basic math, unlike if someone would admit they could not read. And finally, studying math requires different approach in some areas than studying for other subjects. Let's look how different. First, let's look at how to select your math class that would work best for you. Consider whether you are more an independent learner or you would benefit from frequent and direct input from the instructor. I'm talking about online and face-to-face classes. When you decide to take an online math class, consider the fact that most of studying you're doing independently. Watching video lectures, making notes on those videos by yourself, schedule your time to study on your own. It can be a good thing if you're an independent and self-disciplined learner because online math classes in general take more time to study and more self-motivation than in-person classes. Counselors usually suggest getting aside at least 2 hours of study time a week for every hours spent in class. Hour in class means the number of units or credits for that class. For example, a lot of math classes are 4 units. That means that you would need 4 times 2, 8 hours per week of study time set aside from the in-class meetings. Since online class does not have the in-class meetings, you would need to schedule for class 8, 12 hours a week to study for your online math class. 4 hours to substitute for the in-class meetings, plus at least 8 hours of study time. I say at least because some people might need more than that to prepare and study for their math classes. So carefully choose the modality of your math class and be prepared to be extremely organized and disciplined if you choose to take online math class. Actually, being self-disciplined would benefit you in many areas, not just academics, but in life situations as well. But that's another story. Before you enroll in your math class, make sure to meet with a counselor to create your ed plan. Different majors require different math classes. You don't want to self-enroll in a math class and then find out halfway through that you don't even need that class for your major and that the university you're planning to transfer would not accept the credit for this class. So talk to your counselor before enrolling in any math class. Are you a morning lark or a night owl? Because math classes require such a great amount of concentration, it's better to take your math class that means during the time when you're most alert. That's if you choose to take face-to-face class. I had students who were taking my 8 a.m. class and struggled to stay awake a half of the class. Remember the forgetting curve diagram that shows that people in general remember just about 40% only an hour after class? Not to mention that the memory declines sharply after that. How much do you think those students who slept halfway through the class would remember? It would be good if they could at least recall the topic of the lecture after class. I'll put the link to the video about the forgetting curve in the comments. So if you decide to take the in-person class, make sure you take the math class during the time you feel most energetic to efficiently utilize your body resources. Some studies shows that teachers amount to 25% of your success in class, but 3/4 are still on you. But it never hurts to ask around other students about their experiences in their math classes. Also, there's a website you can read the reviews of the professors. It's called Rate My Professor. I would be careful though and critical reading those reviews. Keep in mind that a lot of students just want to get back on their professor for getting a bad grade in class and will only complain on the professor without mentioning whether they themselves put enough effort to earn the grade they were hoping to earn. They think professors give grades. As a professor myself, I can clear this confusion. Any professor gives any student any grade. The grades are earned. The grade reflects your effort, your understanding of the concept. So if you're planning to earn an A in the class, you better devise a plan on what you're willing to do in order to earn that A. In this video, we will learn some great study techniques that you can implement in your study to make it more efficient and that will increase your preparedness for taking a math class. And if you're currently taking a math class, you can start implementing these techniques in your study right away. One of the most important traits of successful people is their organizational skill. Schedules help us to stay on track and make our day more productive. Many times we spend hours on some useless activities without even noticing it, such as social media website, reading the news about other people that are not even related to us. And that having knowledge about their day will not help us to deal with what we need to do. We especially tend to procrastinate before having to complete any activity that our mind finds challenging or new. You probably noticed that when you have to do your math homework or prepare for math exam, you suddenly find a million activities that become urgent to complete before you even look at those math problems. With me, it would happen every time I had to write an essay in my English class. I would spend hours just sitting at my desk and staring at empty Word page. Sometimes it would turn into days. I would always find something that needed to be done right away. Dust my furniture, have tea, check my Facebook page, call my friends to chat, and so on. So you're not alone with your procrastination. A lot of people experience similar encounters when faced with challenging tasks. And if you consider math a challenging subject, so is your brain. I'll put the links to two very interesting videos I found on the World Wide Web on the internet. Those videos explain the causes of procrastination and some of the ways to overcome it. To keep track of your daily tasks, it also helps to use the calendars. You can use digital calendar or paper calendar, it doesn't matter. As long as you have a tool to help you keep track of all the tasks that you need to complete with the due dates they need to be completed by, it will be beneficial in helping you to manage your time effectively. Let's now talk about utilizing your math notes and reading your math textbook. I joined those two topics because I think they're tightly related. When should you read your math textbook and make notes? Before, during, or after class? You might answer that the math notes should be taken during class, while professor's lecturing and the textbook is used after class to do homework assignments. Unfortunately, a lot of people assume that math textbooks can only be used to find the homework problems. They would not even utilize it as additional help. Your math textbook is the main source to help you when you get confused with the topic. Let's say you're doing your math homework at 10 p.m. at night. That's the time when I see most submissions in my online stats class. And you realize that you're confused with some math problem and need urgent help. But the tutoring center is already closed and the instructor more likely is not going to check their email and answer your call for help at 10 p.m. at night. And the assignment is due at 11:59 p.m., of course. What should you do? Your answer would be in your textbook and in your notes. If you made efficient notes, of course. And we'll come back to this particular topic, how to make notes, in a minute. First, let's start with the fact that by the time you start completing your homework assignments, you should already be familiar with the topic. Therefore, you should already have some notes, examples, maybe even highlights in your book or in your notes. If you use physical book, you'll have highlights in physical book, or good detailed notes from your instructors' video lectures if you take an online class. Use those notes and highlights to locate the topic that gives you trouble and go over the example one more time, or more if needed. Try to understand the example. Do not try to substitute the numbers in the example with the numbers in your homework problems. It's not going to be beneficial to you. Your brain is not going to remember this mechanical task. Only if you make an effort to comprehend the concept, you'll put it in your long-term memory to remember a little longer than just while you're doing the homework. Sometimes students tell me, I did my homework and got an A on the assignment, but I have no idea what I did. This happens when you mechanically play with the numbers without trying to connect the dots and fully understand the topic you're studying. Besides using your math textbook for homework help, you should utilize it when preparing for class. Yes, you should make the notes even before you come to class. You wouldn't go to a foreign country without knowing at least basic vocabulary terms, wouldn't you? Or having a plan of what you would like to see in that country or city, especially if you've never been there before and you have limited time to visit, right? Then why you would go to a math class expecting that the instructor's knowledge just magically transfer into your head without any effort on your side? Before, we talked about how our memory works and how new concepts are better remembered and understood if we have any prior knowledge to tie to it. I'll put the link to that video in the comments as well. There's going to be a lot of useful links in the comments. You can help your memory to process new information faster and faster transfer a new knowledge into a long-term memory if you come to class prepared. So if you take face-to-face to class and use a physical book, utilize it to make your notes before class. at least have some definitions, new terms, procedures for the topic you're going to learn in class. If you're taking online class, utilize the resources your online software provides. A lot of publishers have PowerPoints and ebook included with your subscription. Make a good use of it. If your instructor provides you with guided notes, some bullet points of what definitions, concepts you need to have in your notes, or suggestions on what should be included in your notes, great, use it. If not, make the guided notes yourself using the ebook. And while in class, be proactive listener. Ask questions. Create a list of questions you might accumulate while preparing notes before class. Have prepared notes will help you focus on the parts that you found most challenging, rather than trying to feverishly keep up with every single new piece of information that will be poured on you in class. Taking notes in math classes can be a challenging task because it involves multitasking. No, not that multitasking when you scroll your social media page while watching TV and listening to your kids at the same time. Math requires your full attention to details. Math is all about details, but it's challenging because you have to take notes while listening to your instructor explaining the concept and at the same time trying to understand what you're writing down. I will talk about taking notes in math classes in more detail in my other video because this topic is just too complex to be covered in such a short period of time, and it requires more details on how to make efficient math notes. I'll make a separate video on that topic. You can check my YouTube channel or subscribe for the updates to get updates when I post the video. That was a brief overview of helpful study strategies for math classes that will help you succeed in your classes and will benefit your studying for challenging math topics. If you like the video, click like and subscribe for the updates. Also, don't forget to check my other videos. I make a lot of videos on various math topics, and let me know what other topics you would like me to make video on.